Hey everyone, welcome back to Low Budget Logistics, your logistics and supply chain explainer. Today we're gonna be going touchy-feely. We're gonna be talking about relationships because they are important. They are extremely important in your world. Both if you're a salesperson, which I know that there are a lot of you out there who are listening and follow me, or if you're in the supply chain itself. Now, we'll talk about that. But first, a quick thank you for everyone for liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, doing all the things that you're doing. The channel has seen just tremendous growth. And so I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you're not subscribed, by all means, hit the like button down below, the little thumbs up. If you want to be notified when there's new videos, then hit the bell, I think. I'm the best YouTuber. At least I'm the best supply chain YouTuber. So with all that being said, let's talk about relationships because they're important. Right? My relationship to you is important. Now, if you're in the supply chain, you will be working with other people. It just is. It's a matter of life. It's the fact of the world. My professional career has been mainly in transportation, which means that I work very closely with manufacturers, with transportation providers, and then I work very closely with the warehouse personnel. And there's a lot of different subsections of the warehouse itself, and so there's a lot of effort that's being put into, receiving things, and then also on the other side shipping things. So I realized very early in my career, maybe a little bit later than I should have, but I realized early that I could not be effective in my job if I did not, develop and create relationships with other people. Also, within that, I'm also talking to people who marketed, because what they were doing was going to affect me in one way or another, and I needed to know what sorts of shifting they were going to be doing, and when they were going to be pushing forward marketing so that I could provide accurate volume forecasts to my transportation providers. So it's important. You need to build relationships. You need to be friendly, right? Within the world itself, you need to be friendly. And so part of what we're going to talk about this week is relationships, how you can leverage them, how you can create them. And then if you're a salesperson, you should stay tuned for a video specifically to you, where we're really talking about new relationships and what they look like, how to create them. So we'll talk about that later in another video. But this one is about relationships as a thing you should be doing. Now, you say, why? Why do I care what someone in marketing is doing? You should care because it affects your product. It affects what you're doing. It might affect your margins. It will affect how many people you need to have on hand. It will affect how many temps you need to hire. It will affect everything. Your ability to create and foster relationships is extremely important within the supply chain. You cannot be effective at your job. Listen to me again. You cannot be effective at your job if you stay in your warehouse all day. You can't. You cannot. If you only exist within the warehouse, you will not be good at your job. You will not. It is impossible to be good at your job if people do not know who you are and they don't tell you information. Now, for me personally, I can give you some experience on this. I was in a retail and e-commerce fashion company, and there were two sites in the same city. There was the warehouse and there was the home office. And typically, people from either side didn't go and visit one another unless there was some sort of meeting that was required. Typically, again, in the world of Zoom, this was pre-COVID, so we had video conferencing, and we would typically in the DC we would just video conference to whatever meeting it was, and we would all sit around and we would all just kind of grind and gnash our teeth as everyone explained what we were going to be doing for the next whatever promotional period we were talking about, and it was generally frustrating. Now, I realized sort of within that conversation, or within kind of the early parts of that conversation, I need to be over there. And I need to be, days that I have a meeting which would be video, I should just be there in person. One, because it's actually closer to my house to be there. And two, I could spend the entire day over there talking to someone about these things. I could sit at their desk and we could talk about what was going on and why they were doing the things that they were doing. And that was extremely important, because it's a lot of times it's really easy to ignore someone's email. We all do it. I know that we do. It's very easy to ignore someone's email. It is much more difficult to ignore someone when they're standing at your desk asking you a question. Now, I know it might be a bully tactic. I get it. Do it with a bit of compromise and a bit of hope. But it's so much better just in general if you're in a meeting, if you can be there in person. So we'll get further into that. But part of what I would do when I was over at the home office was to just chat with people. And I would walk around and meet and say, hey, and sort of shake hands and see what everyone was doing. One, because it might help me with a meeting that I was supposed to be, that I was prepping for, later on in the afternoon or what have you. But I was also looking ahead for other things that were important. I was talking to other people about what initiatives might be coming up, and what things might affect me. And the other thing that I was doing as well was gathering information and bringing it back to the people in the warehouse who legitimately had to be there all day, every day, because they had teams there, because whatever. I was bringing that information back to them and saying, hey, I talked to so-and-so about this thing and you should be aware of it, just sort of broadly. And then, kind of providing information to them so they could go make good decisions off of it. Other things that were important of sort of being physically present in that other office was people would see me and go, oh, hey, we need to talk. Matt, I know that you're, that what I've been thinking about, that I've been working on all day, it actually pertains to you and we need to talk about this thing. And so I would find such benefit from just sitting in the lobby or the lunch area, just kind of hanging out, working on my computer. And then as I was typing, someone would walk in to get coffee and they'd go, oh, we need to talk. And so it was great to be a part of those conversations and great to sort of be over there. And at the end of sort of in the middle of my tenure there, I realized I'm not going to be good and proficient at my job and the sort of accomplishment of the things that I'm supposed to be doing if I don't spend at least one day per week at the home office just talking to people and seeing what was going on. So my boss thankfully was wonderful and allowed me to do that, and so I'm extremely thankful for that. But it is important for you in the supply chain to get out of your world and to get into someone else's, and to build and foster those relationships. Now, if you are a salesperson who watches the video, because I know there are a lot of you out there, it is important for you to build and foster relationships with me, your customer. If you have me as your customer, there's some of you who are, I will be calling you just about every day. You should expect that we will become very good friends, because that's just who I am as a person. But if you are a salesperson who has probably a reticent provider or someone who is a customer of yours, if you have a reticent customer, then you should at least endeavor to talk to them probably once a week. Makes sense, if not once every 2 weeks. It's important to sort of get information out, converse across one another, just sort of shoot the breeze and just see what's going on. If you have anything, right, this is a good time for you as a salesperson to bring up any kind of new charges that may be in effect. Parcel people, I'm looking at you specifically. Or if there's any changes in the market, any information, or really just to touch base and say, hey, how's it going? How are we doing? How are we providing for your needs? Is there anything that we could be doing beyond what it is that we're currently doing? The supply chain, it exists in a web, and we have to build relationships with people across functions, up and down, side to side. We have to build relationships all over the place. And so it is extremely important that relationships are the way that things get done and moved in this world is by the development and fostering of relationships. Like it or not, it is the way of the world. Now, I'm going to kind of end it really quickly there. We'll talk more about the specific relationships, how to, if you have a relationship, say with a 3PL or a consultant, or someone else, we'll talk about that in detail in the next video. And in the video after that, we'll talk about building new relationships. And this will be important for salespeople, especially because I will talk about how, if you want to cold call me, how you can do that. But we'll talk about those in the next 2 videos coming up. All that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day.